Welcome, mindsetters. I hope you guys are ready for this next session. We're going to have a lot more fun, as we always do. You know, Kathy's busy.
He gets so excited. I mean,
do.
it's
Because I never know what's going to happen during the session. Anything happens in Kathy's session. So.
sweet child. Okay,
So,
here we go.
Kathy's actually going to be like taking us for this next session. So guys, you know the drill. Make sure you get on the page, you get chatting. For those of you who don't know, who just turned on now, we just hit 10,000 people on the page. Guys, we're super excited here at the studio. But besides being excited, you guys need to still send us your questions. If you guys are lost anywhere, need help, www.facebook.com/learnextra. And if Twitter's your thing, tweet me at learnextra. And guys, we're going to get on with the rest of the session. Kathy, take it away. She's always laughing at me.
He's so cute. Okay, the eye. Now, we see, and there's a difference between seeing and actually comprehending what you were seeing. All right. So seeing is because of a structure, or two of them, that we have in the head region of a human, and we're focusing specifically on the human eye. Now, there it is. And if you look at this, you don't really have to study. You just have to look at your eye in a mirror and you say, cool, now have a look at this. We have eyebrows, and what do? They are there to protect. They stop sweat and stuff from running into the eye. Then we've got an eyelid. And what does the eyelid do? It can close to prevent things from getting into your eye. Now, you don't even have to think too much about closing your eye, but it's still a voluntary movement, all right? So eyelid, it also to protect, okay? We've got eyelashes. And Ty, don't you find it strange that guys normally have these long eyelashes and girls have short ones?
That is a bit strange.
Why?
I came across
What
that.
is it?
I don't know.
Do you think it's like the bird thing where male birds are always like the
have
showy
those
off ones, and they've got the colored feathers and
then the ladies have to be very practical.
Thanks, eh?
No, I didn't mean I had to put my foot in my
He's
mouth.
going to get into trouble. All right, you got the eyelashes. Okay, and they prevent things from falling into the eye. And we've got a little hole over here. And sometimes that little hole, all right, it's the nasolacrimal duct. So naso from your nose, lacrimal from the eye. And it drains the fluid from this side across the eye down. So, and I'm not going to change pens, but it goes across the eye from the outside down into this nasolacrimal duct, and that joins up at the nose, or at the back of the nose, it joins the throat. That is why when you cry, apart from the tears running over your face, and then we see tears running down, okay, a lot of it goes down the nasolacrimal duct, but it runs into the back of the nose. And no one stands or sits or whatever and cries like this. Everybody cries this way. You put your head down, okay? And when you put your head down and you cry, your nose starts running because your tears run into the back of the nose. And that's why. So there you go. How things work, our own personal thing. And then here you've got the eyeball. The actual eyeball sits here. And that eyeball, you have the color part, which is the iris. Okay. And I've just lost my diagram, my picture, but let's go. All right, here are the processes. We have, let's get a nice color here. There are organs of sight. Now, people think about it. We have, and we've done the nervous system, or animal responses to the environment, which is the nervous system, really. We have the central nervous system, the brain, and the spinal cord. We have the autonomic nervous system, which works automatically. Sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. Sympathetic will stimulate the body to respond, and the parasympathetic is the one that relaxes us. Okay? So, and then your third nervous system. So we've got central, autonomic, which is sympathetic and parasympathetic, and then we have the peripheral, which is peripheral means everything around. So peripheral nervous system will be everything that involves our senses. Your skin, sense of touch. Taste, on your tongue, so your chemoreceptors there. Nose, chemoreceptors. And then the eyes are your photo. Why? Because eyes see light. So we call them photo, which is light, receptors. Now, before we carry on, I just want to see where my... Okay, remember, we have an external stimulus. In this case, it's going to be light. All right? That external stimulus goes to a receptor. And in this case, it's going to be our photoreceptors. I'm just showing you how to apply the whole eye thing and sight to how our nervous system works. So external stimulus, which is light, it's picked up by the receptors, okay? In this case, our photoreceptors, which are in the eye. The receptors will convert the stimulus to an impulse. So let me just write convert here. Right. Now, remember, an impulse is the language of the brain. The brain, the central nervous system, can only understand information if it is in the language or the correct language. And in this case, your language is going to be an impulse. All right. Now, impulse will travel along the sensory neurons. Okay. They always take to the central nervous system. So we'll go spinal cord. Spinal cord, you've still got your sensory neurons, which will then carry on transporting that impulse all the way through to the brain. The brain is now going to interpret what it needs to do. So, for example, we see a cake, we are going to get hungry. We are going to want some of that cake. We're going to then release saliva into our mouths. You follow? It's from seeing. If a snake had to come slithering past here, I see the snake, I get a huge fright, and then adrenaline will kick in. That will be my response to that. Right, so that is the way it works, and the brain has to process first. Now, the brain interprets, and it will decide on an action. So the brain will then send an impulse, because that's its language, impulse to where? To, or via the motor neurons. Okay? And the motor neurons will then travel along to the spinal cord and to an effector. And an effector, will remember, is either a gland, okay, or a muscle. And it'll cause the gland to contract or the muscle to contract. And that's how the whole process works. So, just going back here. The eyes, our organ of sight. And because it has to do with light, we call them photoreceptors that are in the eye. Where are they located? In the retina. And in that retina, we have those photoreceptors are called rod and cone cells. The rod cells pick up black and white and dark and light. So they really see whether it's very bright or very dark. That's the rod cell's function. Couldn't care about color. And then we've got the cone cells, and the easy way to remember is the word color starts with a C, and the word cone starts with a C. Those are your photoreceptors. Now, you're also going to see all kinds of other things, but mainly your cone cells for color. The impulses are passed from those, your receptors, people, photoreceptors, rod and cone cells, and it's going to go into the back of the eyeball, all right, and along the optic chiasma. The optic nerve crosses over, and it goes into your occipital occipital lobe here at the back of your head, and that's where your region of sight is. So that's where your brain is going to interpret what it is you see. Please, this diagram, okay, not the colored one specifically, black and white, I don't mind, but this one is in B. Because most of the questions that you're going to get or may get on this section of work, well, they'll give you the diagram of the eye and then ask you to explain the structure versus function, what the different components are. So we're going to start from the outer layers and work our way in. It's always better to do it that way. So just to show you little ways of remembering things. Okay, we start from here and move in. The first part that you are going to see in an eye is going to be what we have as a white part. And that white part is, and I need green here, the white part is the sclera. It's the white of the eye. Okay, I'm going to battle here with the colors. So let's go here. It's the white part of an eyeball. Okay, then the sclera, because it's white, but it's thick and it's fibrous, and as it comes across the front here, okay, you'll see where it's shaded bluish here. That area there is what we call the cornea. And the cornea is transparent. That's why when you look at somebody, if you look at them from the side, so if they're sitting next to you and you look at them from the side, you can actually see it looks like they've got a contact lens on the front of their eyes. Okay? That is the cornea. And the cornea is an extension, and this is important. It extends, the sclera is white and fibrous, and it extends into the cornea. Very, very, very important that. Then, the next layer that we have is called the choroid layer. So sclera is number 1, and the choroid is number 2. And the choroid layer is what we've got here in a sort of a dark brown shade. But now look at this. This choroid extends into this little thing, or this little area here, that sort of lips into this blue section. That is your iris. And the iris is the pretty colored part of your eye. Right, and that's the part that we look at. You don't look at the whites of their eyes. You don't look at their pupils. You look at the iris of the eyes. And that is where it's all determined by genetics, what color the eye will be. Okay, but the iris extends across. This structure that's here is a hole. And that hole is caused by the iris, because the iris sits around the hole. So to do this, there's your iris, and there's the hole. So when the iris moves away, the hole looks bigger, and we have a very large pupil. And when the iris pulls in, the hole closes, and we have like a pinprick pupil. Pupil, or the hole, please never call it a hole, but it's the hole that you are going to see there is called the pupil. Okay, I've actually asked about this so many times, and it's, there we go. You have the hole, and we end up with the pupil. So the pupil is what you would see as the black in the eye. Right, now that hole is going to allow the light to pass through. Choroid, okay, number 1, the sclera extends into the cornea, and the choroid, cornea, just right here, is transparent. Okay. And then we have the iris, so the choroid extends into the iris, and it forms the whole of the pupil. And then we have the inner layer, which is our layer number 3, is the retina. And in that retina, we have our photoreceptors. Okay? They sit there and they will convert the stimulus into an impulse, and the impulse is going to pass all the way around here and out through the optic nerve to the brain. Okay? Where in the brain? The occipital lobe at the back of the head. Right, at the back of the brain. That's why if people bash their heads very hard, they have blurry vision. That blurry vision is because they may have damaged their occipital lobe. All right, now, sclera, transparent cornea, choroid into the colored iris, which creates the hole, which is the pupil, and the retina, which has the photoreceptors, and that, all the mess of the impulse is going to travel out through here, out through the back. Okay, let me just write impulse here. Now, as we move this way, we've got this little ball structure here and a ballish structure here. That's your ciliary body. And the ciliary body's job is to contract and relax. So when it contracts, it pulls the lens in a different shape, and when it relaxes, it pulls the lens along. So the ciliary body is what helps us with focus. And it's called accommodation because it works this lens. And attached between the ciliary body and the lens, we have little ligaments. Okay? And remember, ligaments hold bone to bone, so they don't wiggle around. And those ligaments will then pull the lens this way and make it long and thin, or pull it this way so that it is rounder. And there's our lens. At the back, in here, we've got this fluid, and the fluid is called the vitreous humor, and the fluid in the front part of the eye is called the aqueous humor. This is watery. It's a watery fluid, and this is all important because remember, if you light moves through different, I'm trying to think of the word, liquid states. It changes, it gets bent more or less. So if it goes through gel, it's going to be bent a heck of a lot more than if it goes through water, something that's very dilute, okay, or through lots of pure water, for example. And John will tell you all of that in science. And then we've got this area which makes this, the vitreous humor gives the eyeball its shape. It makes it, it fills it, just like air would fill a soccer ball. The vitreous humor is a gel-like fluid. And that's what gives the eyeball its shape. And then at the back of the eye, you'll see here, as the retina comes along, it dents in over here and it then carries on. This little indentation here is your fovea centralis. And fovea centralis means that it's your central point. In other words, it's the central point, which is where your focal point is. So if I look at my whiteboard pen, okay, I can see everything else here. I can even see Ty right here to my right, but I'm not looking at him. So everything else is blurred, but this is focused. The fact that I'm looking at this pen, it focuses exactly onto that little spot here. Right. And then if I look at this and I look away, I'm focusing on other things. But your focal point will always sit here on the fovea centralis. Okay, we also call it the yellow spot. And I think we should take a break because I need a sip of water. So Ty, help me here, please, darling.
That cake.
I know.
So guys, make sure you know the drill. Make sure you go get your pens, your pads, your writing notes. You keep writing notes because there are diagrams up on the page. So guys, again, always use the page as your reference. You can grab the diagrams for your notes, anything you need. So guys, we're going to see you after this break. See you soon. Welcome back, Mindsetters, to this grade 12 session doing life science with Kathy. I hope you guys are ready. You've had your notes, have a nice little break, you know. I just had a little bit of a taste of the cake. I wish I could I wish I could Facebook the cake to you and like in your inbox so you could get some too, but unfortunately technology hasn't gotten that far yet. But for now, guys, I'm gonna hand you over to Kathy for the rest of the session. Pay attention now. Kathy, take it away.
Okay, people, we've done the whole eye, but where we have a yellow spot, or the central point, or the fovea centralis, which is the Latin name, we also have the blind spot. And the blind spot is very, very important. It sits here. Why? The optic nerve exits the eye. Now think about this. If you took your bedroom and you arranged it so that your bed was across the door, would that be a problem? I think so, because it means people couldn't walk in and out. And that's the problem. We have at this blind spot here, there are no photoreceptors. There are no photoreceptors. Why? It would be like you putting furniture in the doorway. All right, there's a doorway there to get the impulses out. So it would be silly to have receptors there. That's why we call it the blind spot. And there are all kinds of cute little tests that you can download from the internet with spots, and then you focus on the one spot, and then you scroll down or you move, and it changes, and there's a point where you can't see the second dot. And that's because it's in your blind spot. It's like when you're driving, and come on, most of you grade 12 people out there, learners, you're sitting almost 18 or 18 years or almost turning 19, and I'm sure you've tried the driving thing. And when you're sitting in the driver's seat and you look into into the side mirror, there's a point where you can see behind your car, you can see with your rear view, but you've got your blind spot and you actually have to turn to look. Am I right, Ty?
Yes.
I mean, even you
Yes.
guys have a blind spot. Actually, you know that it's just as a snippet of useless information, that when you do insurance, young males under the age of 25 pay almost double of what young females do under the age of 25. Why? We don't crash cars. So clearly, I don't think guys really watch that blind spot, hey?
Yeah, we not.
You see, he's speechless. He is speechless.
I don't have a response to that one.
Okay, here we've got heterochromia. I thought I'd put this in. It's not part of the syllabus, but it's part of general knowledge. And they could throw something like this at you in an exam and say to you, what is heterochromia? And try and figure out whether you can figure it out or whether you've read it somewhere or not. And they'll do it like a multi-choice or something. But look at the word. Again, you know how often I've said to you, just look at how the word is. Hetero means different. Okay? Chromia is color. So it tells you the word heterochromia, different color. And this person, if you look here, and it's from Wikipedia, has two different color eyes. This one's brown, and this one's like a hazel color. And you'll find when people do have heterochromia, they could have a blue eye and a green eye, but you're certainly not going to have a blue and a brown. But you could have like a hazily green color. So, and in the old days, if people had two different eye colors, they used to think that they were witches, and they used to give them all kinds of, or believe that the people had all kinds of powers, and that they could see things and see into the future, etc., because they had different eye colors. They should have actually someone should have just said, oi, it's genetics, really. And here, because you've got both colors, people, do you remember when you had codominance? All right, and there it is. You have codominance here. So you've got both those colors that are now going to be on their own. All right, lenses and refraction. Basically, I just want you to think about this. When any surface is flat, you see whatever is over here. Well, let's do a candle. If we have a candle over here, all right, this candle in here, and when we look at it, it's going to be pretty much the same. So this is the object, okay, and we're then going to see the image. So if you look into a mirror, if I stand 1 meter away from the mirror, I'm going to see my image 1 meter in the mirror, if you know what I mean. But it's exactly the same, unless you've got mirrors that twist. I mean, if you get a really cheap mirror, especially those big, you know, the ones that you get in dressing rooms, and they either make you look very thin or they make you look like you're deformed. That's because the mirror isn't consistent. But if it's a completely flat surface, what you see here is what you are is what the image will be at the back. The same distance. It's perfect. All right? Inverted, but perfect. Then, the minute it is bent in any way, so if the surface is bent either this way or it is bent that way, the surface is bent, so it stands to reason that the light coming in here is going to be bent. So if I have over here, if I've got my little candle, okay, when you look at the candle, it is going to be upside down. All right, it is bent. The light is bent, and we say that the light is refracted. That means it's bent. If the lens bends outwards and it bulges out, it comes like this, and it does that. So my candle here ends up being my candle, but it's sort of bent a little bit and small and insignificant. Instead of having my nice candle. So what have we got here? When it is bent inwards towards the light source, we say it is concave. And when it bends outwards towards the light surface, we say it is convex. And this is quite important when we look at, for example, the cornea of the eye. Okay? It bulges that way. So what is it going to do? It's going to take the light, and it's going to sort of fit the light into where the lens is. And here we have our lens. Okay? Now, this surface of the lens is going to be convex, and this surface of the lens is concave to the light coming in. So that, that is what's going to cause the light to come in here, and it goes quite lovely here, and then it does chip, chip, and that's why we see our image upside down at the back of the eye, purely because of concave and convex. And you're sitting there saying, no, this can't be true. And you say, yes, it is. And depending on how round your cornea is or how flat your cornea is, you are either have, and also your lens, that's what makes you see far or see close and not be able to see far, so short-sighted or far-sighted. It's the cornea and the shape of the convex lens. Now, when two sides look like this, it's bi, because it's two. There's 1, 2, and they both, one bulges out this way, one bulges out that way, and we then say it is biconvex because they bulge out. When it does this, there's 1, there's 2, it'll be biconcave. And that is how they correct our eyesight when they make glasses. It's as simple as that. Now, we're going to have all these surfaces bending. One last point is, if a round surface, and if it's a biconvex, if it is rounder or flatter, it's going to bend the light. So we're going to have refraction. But if it is rounder, we are going to have more refraction. And if it is flatter, we are going to have less refraction, because if the lens looks like that, there's very little bending of light. You follow? So there's less refraction because this lens is flatter. And this is important. I need for you to understand this concept, because when we do accommodation, this is what it's all about. And if it is nicely rounded, so that the lens, the biconvex lens is nicely rounded here, so it's rounder, which means we are going to have more bending of the light. Now, why would we want to bend the light? If I look at something and it is, it's big. So pass me that hat, Ty. If I take this hat and I have it here, the closer this hat comes to my eye, the more my eye has to work to bend this picture so that it can fit into my eye, if you want to think of it that way. It's not quite theoretically correct, but it will help you to understand the process. So the eye has to make the lens very round so it can take all of this and squish it so that my eye can see it. Okay? Very round lens, lots of refraction. Whereas if I take the same hat and I was to put it 10 meters away from me, then if it's 10 meters away and I take my finger and I do this, that hat's only going to be that size. You follow? So even if I do this, that hat's even smaller. So I can say, oh, no, does it have to bend a lot to fit into my eye? No. So when your eyes are set to rest, and this is why your parents know you're not listening to them when they're talking to you. This is why your girlfriend knows that you're losing interest when she's talking to you, and you sort of get this faraway look because you're thinking about the soccer game that you're missing. And your teachers know when you're not paying attention. When you are relaxed and your eyes are relaxed, they're set for distant vision. So it's like you're looking far, 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 far away. And you get that faraway look in your eyes are relaxed. And when you have to focus on something here, we often will almost squint because you want to see. And as you bring it closer, the eyes have to work harder, because to make that lens very round is hard work. Here, the muscles must work. And that is also why you need to take a break when you are studying. Because many of you will sit down and you can't understand why you're not getting this stuff into your head after 4 hours of not moving from your chair. It's because your eyes are so tired of focusing. It would be like me saying to you, I want you to sit in a sort of a semi-sit-up position, and I want you to hold that position for the next 4 hours. Your abdominal muscles will collapse. The same as if I said to you, stand on one leg and maintain your balance like that for 4 hours, your poor muscles will start to pack up. But you force your eyes to do that. So what happens is the eye muscles are pulling, those ciliary muscles are holding the lens, and then eventually they say, I can't anymore, and they let go. And they think, but hold on, we are supposed to be contracting, so they contract again, and your eyes go out of focus. So pretty much 2 or 3 words in a sentence you are not even seeing because they go blurry. As your eye focuses and unfocuses and focuses and unfocuses, you must relax your eyes. Never focus on something without looking up maybe every half an hour, 3/4 of an hour. You should never study for more than 15 minutes at a time anyway. Okay, so I hope you understand that. And if you don't, let Ty know so I can go through it. All right, we're looking at the path of light. And really, all of this is blah-de, 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 blah. So I'm going to go back here to our diagram of the eye. And I'm going to say, right, guys, take all of this out. And we're going to say, do the path of light. That's why I said to you, you need to know this diagram. And I would do this diagram, I would redraw it onto an A4 sheet. and write all the structure versus function on it, and then just do your path of light with your finger.
Kathy,
Okay? Yep.
I just want to ask a quick question. Do you want to do a quick ad break before you dive into this next section?
I think so, hey?
Think so.
I think definitely, because
It's quite
this,
a chunky one.
this is a lovely 15-mark question.
Okay, so guys, you heard Kathy. She's the boss lady. So guys, make sure you come back after this break, because this is a very, very important question. So guys, make sure you come back. But for now, see you soon. And welcome back, Mindsetters, to this grade 12 session. I hope you're paying attention, because guys, this next session is super important, as Kathy told me. So guys, make sure you're paying attention, because I'm going to hand you over. Make sure you got your pens and pads and you're ready to write notes. Kathy, take it away.
Okay, people. Structure versus function, number 1. Path of light, number 2. Accommodation, number 3. And pupillary function, number 4. Those are the only things you need to know with regard to the eye. You can actually put it all onto one A4 page. You learn that, you get 100%, and this should make up anything from 5 to 15% in a test or an exam. Okay, in an exam, probably marks, but in a test, well, you know, tests only out of 50, so there you go, go figure. Right, now, here's my light, and my light is going to come in. You know your diagram, you can say, right, the light's going to pass through the transparent cornea, okay, where we are going to have refraction. Why? Because the cornea has a convex shape. The light continues to move through the aqueous humor, okay, through the pupil. Remember, the hole here between the iris is the pupil. Through the pupil, and it then moves through the lens, which is, what's the shape of the lens? It is start again. It is biconvex. Bi means two, and I've got the two convex sides together. Right, so from the air, through the transparent cornea, through the aqueous humor, and the pupil, don't forget the pupil here. All right, and it then moves the biconvex lens, which has got like a gel in here as well. All right, the light continues to move, and then it gets into the fovea centralis. Now remember, I said to you, the fovea centralis, where your vitreous humor, where the aqueous humor is watery, your vitreous humor is gel-like. That gel creates pressure and gives the eyeball its shape. That's number 1, the round shape. But it also has all kinds of nutrients in there as well. So the light will travel through here, and your focal point will be at this point here, which is the yellow spot. Anything that you see in your peripheral vision. So, for example, I'm standing here looking at you, or looking at the camera, which is looking at you, okay? I can see Ty's over there. And if I ask Ty to move, just keep moving. No, move back. And back, I can still see you. And I can still see you. He's doing all kinds of little moves here. And I can still see him, and I can't see him anymore. All of that here is peripheral vision. Everything from there to here is peripheral vision. From there up to here is peripheral vision. So people, you've got to remember that it's all there, but you may not always be focusing on it or taking notice. So you can, out of the corner of your eye, you've heard that saying, I saw somebody doing X, Y, Z. That is your peripheral vision. It's the vision on the outside. And that would be all the light that comes in here and stimulates all these other photoreceptors that are in the retina. All right, but there's your focal point. That's your focus point there. If you are nearsighted, the image falls here. If you're farsighted, the image falls behind the fovea centralis. Now, the light stimulus is converted into an impulse by the rod and cone cells, which are our photoreceptors. Okay? And the photoreceptors convert the stimulus into an impulse, and it exits via the blind spot, which is where the optic nerve exits the eye. And that is the path of light. Something that you need to remember is that the image, because of the biconvex lens, or the biconvex shape of the lens, is going to take the image, and you're going to end up with an upside down image at the back of the eye. Right, and then clearly when it gets to the occipital lobe, which is the region where sight is interpreted, what you're seeing is actually interpreted, there the image is then inverted. So what you're actually seeing upside down, your brain interprets as right side up. It's the same as what you do with your rights. On your right side is interpreted in the left side of the brain, and the opposite also applies. Okay, so let's go to, we've now done our path of light. Easiest way to do the path of light is to learn the diagram. Okay? Looking at this, it's what you see with your left eye versus what you see with your right eye. And this was to show you the optic chiasma. And a chiasma, people, is a crossing over. All right, it's where it sort of loops over. So, you know, all our highways and our byways, when we have those flyovers and you've got one highway comes here, another one there, and they sort of fly over each other, it's actually a chiasma of sorts that we have there. So what we see in the left eye is interpreted on the right side of the brain. What we see on the right side is interpreted on the left side of the brain. All this other stuff is all peripheral. I just needed for you to see. Now, the fact that we have two eyes, okay, means that we, our vision is binocular, okay, by two, and whatever we see, we are seeing with the left and the right eye and interpreting in the opposite sides of the brain. Okay, that's number one. Number two, it means that we can judge depth. And just a silly little exercise I'd like you to do, get somebody in your family to hold a pencil. I don't know. It mustn't be arm's length, because then you know exactly how far to go. But they can do it anywhere, half a meter away, a meter away. But it must be close enough to you for you to be able to touch without extending your hand completely. And they must put the pencil behind their backs. You close your eyes and don't peep. And when you do that, as you close your eyes, you say, right, put the pen out, and the other person will then try and come do it. You want to come do it here?
I'm in shot now.
You're in shot. Okay. Now,
okay.
I'm going to hold the pen. Mm-hmm. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to try and put your finger on the pen.
Okay.
Okay? Okay, find it? You got it? Mm-hmm. Okay, open one eye. Now only look with one eye. Mm-hmm. Okay, now take your finger away. Okay, now try and put your finger on the pen. Okay, now wait. Now, I don't know if we can get the camera close enough. Ty's finger is over the end. Okay, and if I moved this further, he would probably have missed it completely. You cannot judge distance with one eye. Thanks, honey. Okay. You can't judge distance with one eye. That's why people that have injured one eye may not drive. And if you've got a patch over your eye, or something has happened and your eye no longer sees, you may not drive. You cannot judge distance. Right. It's because of the whole binocular vision, or stereoscopic vision, we can also call it. Okay, binocular, we just write in here, or you can say stereo, and you know stereo means two, stereoscopic. Okay, we focus, and what it does is it increases our field, but it also means that we are able to judge distance. And that's the really important part of being binocular or stereoscopic. And this is all blah-de-blah-de-blah. We really don't worry about it. As long as you know that it's to judge distance. And this is stereoscopic vision. Again, we're looking at this ladybird flying around, and it's all the different processes that are taking place in the brain to help you to understand. And here again, your optic chiasma is over there. I hope you can see the yellow. All right, now, if you look at anything, and if you just, I promise you now, if you can, in your head, understand this, there's no learning. You actually don't have to learn it. And I mean, that's a bonus. So anything that is closer than 6 meters is judged to be near distance. So it's close to you. So what you're doing there is you're looking at near vision. Anything that's close gets bigger and bigger, if you think of it that way. Okay? Which means you have to squish it more to fit it into the back of the eye, to the yellow spot. Which means the light has to be bent more. And as the light needs to be bent more, okay, the lens must be rounder. The rounder that lens, the more it can bend light. The flatter it is, the more it gets to looking into a mirror, okay, where you end up with very little light being bent. When we finished here tonight, I would like you to go to the kitchen, find a spoon, doesn't even have to be a new shiny spoon, even an old spoon, and have a look into that spoon. The bigger the spoon, the better. But if you, even a teaspoon, if you look into this side, the cupped side of the spoon, you're upside down. Okay. You look into the rounded side of the spoon, you certainly do not look like that. Okay. It almost distorts what you look like. Why? The shape. Convex, concave. Biconvex, biconcave. Alrighty, so anything that is less or closer than 6 meters, what happens? And I'm not going to do it here, I'm going to show you the diagram. Okay, how are we doing for time, Ty?
I think we're still good for now. We've got a good 6 minutes, so.
Okay, till ad break or till finish?
Till finish.
Oh my gosh, okay, pay attention, here we go. Near vision. We're now looking at things that are close to us, okay? This is not for people who have eyes that are far-sighted. This is you and I with normal vision looking at something that is close to us. Anything from 6 meters closer. And a nice question here would be if they ask you to discuss what a batsman sees when a bowler bowls the ball in a cricket game. More than 6 meters and as it comes closer. So we're looking at near vision. Number 1, this is the eye from a side view, and this is what you'll see from the front. So the light's going to be traveling through the pupil here, and through the aqueous cornea, aqueous humor, the pupil, and now we get to the lens, because this is the lens. And I'm going to do this so you can actually see where the lens is. Right? And here's our lens as well. Okay, the lens is convex, which means it is bulging, it is round. If it is round, we are therefore going to have more refraction. Lots of bending of that light to make it fit onto the back of the retina. So, the circular ciliary muscles have to contract. Okay? So when the ciliary muscles, now remember the ciliary muscles sit at the end or next to the iris. As that ciliary muscle contracts, pulls towards the lens. When it pulls towards the lens, what happens? The suspensory ligaments are going to get slack, and the lens is going to go round. Remember, the lens is like a, hang on, we got a whole stack of balloons here. This is your lens. So if I push the lens, if I take this, and I could take it over here, and I pull this way, it's going to go longer. That's suspensory ligaments and ciliary muscle. So the ciliary muscle, suspensory ligaments, muscle contracts, okay, and when it contracts, it's going to pull towards the lens. So the lens becomes round. When it relaxes, it pulls the lens long. The rounder the lens, the more it bends light, so we can see what we are looking at. And it puts it onto the back of the retina. When we want to look far away, exactly the opposite is going to happen. So, near vision, the ciliary muscles, okay, which sit here, and all the way around. That's why I've given you the front view as well, because the ciliary muscle is not just this little lump there and a lump here, okay? It is all the way around, and your ligaments attached to the ciliary muscle. Then, when the ciliary muscle contracts, it pulls towards the lens. When it pulls towards the lens, it makes the suspensory ligaments slack, and the lens can then go nice and round. The opposite will apply when we look far away, which is more than 6 meters. And here, look at this lens. You see how nice and long it is. So it's long and flattened. So what happened, the ciliary muscles sitting here pull away because they relax. So pull away like that. When they relax and they pull back, they stretch those suspensory ligaments, and we say they become taut, they become tight, okay? And that will flatten the lens. So it all works on the ciliary muscle doing its thing. Ciliary muscle contracts, okay? It's going to pull towards the lens, and the suspensory ligaments are going to slack. Because remember, ligaments don't stretch. They're like paper. So you can't stretch a piece of paper. They're just like that. And then when they relax, they pull back. Oh, I'm going to relax. You don't relax like this. You relax like that. So the suspensory ligaments pull back, and that pulls the lens long. And when the lens is long and flat, there is very little refraction, and you're seeing far away. Right. Happy, I hope. Ty, are there any questions from the learners?
Nope. Besides, Kathy, you're an awesome teacher.
Oh, cute.
That's the awesome
Thank you.
That's all I've been getting this entire time. Kathy, it's awesome. But there is one from Mohammed, actually.
Uh-huh.
He wanted to find out, because the thing is what he had is that he had, how does he put it? He had cataracts of the eye as a baby.
Ah.
And then he had to have it replaced by a glass lens. So he's worried now that he's getting to that age where he's going to be wanting to start to drive. So he's worried that, I'm going to say I can't judge distance. So I was thinking, isn't it that only a situation for people who've recently injured themselves?
No. If you have a cataract, it means that the lens, all right, is sitting with fluid that crystallizes. So there are different operations they can do. They can replace the lens. They can actually scrape all the stuff out of the lens and replace that gel inside the lens. Remember, the lens is a living tissue, so they can fix it. So don't think that it's going to be a problem. You will be able to work around it. Okay, and you know that somebody has a cataract, by the way, when you look at them, the eye's white. And sometimes it's mainly really old people that actually get that crystallizing. Right, people learn the pupillatory functioning, which is the iris working like a curtain.
Yes,
and
so guys, in the last 5 seconds, we've got to say thank you for the 10,000. Guys, we had so much fun.
Thanks.
Awesome.
And it happened in life sciences. Mwah.
Yeah. Next time, see you. Bye.
Bye.